Hi everyone, and welcome to the Soul Illumination reading for the sign of Cancer. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot reading for Soul Illumination. So hi everyone and welcome. That's exactly what we're going to be looking at in today's reading. We're going to be looking at what your soul would most like to illuminate for you at this time. Now once we get into that area of focus, we'll take a look at a block or a challenge around that area of illumination. We'll look at advice from spirit as to how to overcome that block, and then we'll look at a level of abundance or spiritual growth that's waiting to come in for you. So let's jump right in, Cancer. Okay, so right now we have the energy. This is your energy, Cancer, that you're currently sitting with, and it's the Five of Cups. Now this can be the one where we are reviewing disappointments from the past. It can also be where maybe for some of us we are actually mourning something. It can be we are mourning the loss of something in our life. Now again, this can be where we are looking at something, kind of mourning the loss of something from the past, or we are, meaning we're reflecting, or we are sitting with this energy currently where, again, we can all be in different phases in our life, and there could be a sense of mourning or a sense of losing something in your current experience. Now, when we look at this image, there's the Three of Cups and the Two of Cups. Now, the Three of Cups are what is spilled and what the individual is focusing on. The Two of Cups are what are upright behind the individual. And this can often speak to, because the Three of Cups as a card in the tarot represents community, it can represent support, and that this can be looking at the loss of a sense of community or a loss of a sense of support in the past. And yet what the individual does not realize is directly behind them, there's the Two of Cups. And the Two of Cups is that equal one-on-one partnership. It can be an individual who supports that person. So this could be like going through a very difficult time, and there's that one person that stands out that's there for you. And so a lot of times we will focus on what we've lost instead of the individual or the few people that were there to support us. And so there's a sense here coming through for some of you with the Sun and the Ace of Cups coming through. I think there's going to be almost like this realization of, yes, there has been or had been a loss, but there is a chance for new, more, I'd say, authentic and intimate connection, because the Sun is what your soul is illuminating right now. And this is the card truly of illumination. The Sun represents Leo energy, but it also represents the child within, or kind of that unbound free spirit that lives within each one of us. It can also represent children in your life as well. So there could be a specific emphasis right now in your life on children. It can be also about releasing this inner version of yourself, this free, unbound part that you might be connecting with. It can also be simply that there is a lot of light and illumination in your current life experience, meaning that something in your experience is being highlighted. And for me, just seeing with your underlying energy being the Ace of Cups and your overall energy yourself being the Five of Cups, there's a sense really of an illumination of connection, of love on an emotional level. Now, what does the Ace of Cups represent? It represents a fresh connection to the self on a spiritual level, and it represents the potential for new love as well. Now, underneath this, we have the World and we have the Lovers, which is interesting because the World really does speak to the ending of a major cycle. It's kind of like closing the door and getting ready to open a new door. And it's a time of celebration as well. And it is the final card in the tarot, or in the major arcana in the tarot. So it basically says we've wrapped up that cycle and then we start fresh again as the Fool, which is the number 0 in the major arcana. And so we go through all of the major arcana again. And we will go through the cycle throughout our entire life, kind of wrapping up, going through all the lessons, and then we start over again. Now, with the Lovers coming in before that, this could mean that you might have pursued what was part of the past chapter was love. It was choosing what you love. It might have been seeking, how can I explain this? Sometimes we go through these periods in our life where we are focused on not only pursuing what we love or finding ways to make choices towards what we love, but it can also be where we are pursuing love, meaning the romantic interest or the love of a family, something along those lines. So there was a lot of emphasis on letting your heart kind of choose the way in the past cycle. But yet something has come to a close in that realm. So there's a sense here now of starting fresh with the ace, that you might, this could even be where you might have maybe met the love of your life in the past cycle, but now coming into the new cycle, you get the chance to maybe reconnect. There's a new cycle that you guys are starting together. Or it could be that you might be closing a cycle on something that you used to love, that you did get the chance to pursue your heart in the past cycle. And now there's a sense of maybe something in there maybe either did not work out, was disappointing, or it's something that now there's with that fresh connection on a spiritual level to the self. It could literally be that you're kind of waking up and realizing with the illumination component over here that there's another version of yourself that's waiting to be expressed. Now I'm going to jump a little deeper into this sun energy, which again is what your soul is illuminating for you at this time. So I'm going to pull some additional cards and we'll get into the block, the challenge, advice from spirit, and then what wants to come in for you on a level of abundance or spiritual growth. Now again, the sun can represent children in your life. So for those of you who have children, this could literally be that is the area of focus in your current experience. That could be this fresh connection to love. This could literally be, again, the illumination of this part of yourself, that inner child, that free version that really wants to come out and simply enjoy life. There's a sense of kind of basking in the light of the sun as well with that card. So let's see here. What does Cancer need to know? A lot of cards that are kind of half flipping out here. I did see the Three of Wands, which is incoming opportunity, but we'll start with what actually does come out. We have Queen of Swords. Now, the Queen of Swords is your main point of challenge, and the Queen of Swords, now she can be a sharp-tongued individual. This is someone who knows their personal story and is able to express and share it with others. She comes from the perspective of what she's learned through direct experience, meaning the things that she's overcome. She can speak to what she's survived. She can speak to what she's learned. This could be somebody who, will give you a whole perspective on how difficult, let's say, relationships are due to the relationships she's been in. This is someone who could tell you, could even give you information possibly about the best way to pursue a career path because of her experience in that. So it's kind of that energy of really understanding your story and being able, again, to express that to others, express what you've learned through direct experience to others. But where it can become sometimes a hindrance is when we allow kind of the darker element of the Queen of Swords to come through, which can be someone who is sharp-tongued, someone who is quick to maybe point out the negative in a situation, or someone who comes across as a little jaded, meaning that just because they've gone through a string of negative relationships, then all relationships must be negative. Or just because they've had a difficult time maybe working in the corporate world, then everybody who works in the corporate world is going to have a difficult time. It can kind of be one of those scenarios, or that kind of perspective that creeps through. And I think for some of you that may be almost a sense of almost having to kind of wash your story clean with the Ace of Cups, that there's this incoming fresh connection to others that is waiting to come from this very innocent part of yourself, of, again, this part. It's almost like taking off the armor. When you think of the Queen of Swords, she's probably going to have some type of, there's almost like a battle readiness to this queen specifically. And she hides behind her, not hides, but she uses her intellect. And so there's a sense here, I think, for many of you of, because Cancer, you do rule the emotional side to our experience. You are the Divine Mother archetype in the Zodiac. You also are ruled by the moon, and the moon again really speaks to intuition and to our emotions and how those fluctuate within our experience. And I think for many of you, there's been a little too much of a mental focus, and there needs to be kind of a drawing back to the emotional and the intuitive, because we have the moon on the other side of this. And this really shows me that there is almost like a mental block between you and your intuition in feeling the and trusting. It's almost like having to kind of jumpstart that intuitive core to yourself and that intuitive emotional core. And it's ready. With the Ace of Cups, there's definitely that emotional quality it's almost like you're being handed back your cup when that cup holds your needs, your wants, your dreams, your desires, all the things you need to have fulfilled, or the freedom to follow and pursue that will allow you to have that beautiful emotional connection to your life experience. Now, at the heart of your reading, the advice from Spirit is the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune really, especially in this placement, is really going to speak to the timing is now. There is a time there's a time to close out one cycle officially, and it's time to walk towards the next. There's also a sense of, again, kind of the energy just moving. Now, the Wheel of Fortune, for some readers, the Wheel of Fortune and the World can be very similar cards. They can both speak to kind of, with the Wheel of Fortune, there's that sense of the wheel turning over. So at any point, we might be on a various aspect of the wheel. We could be at the top of the wheel, or we could be at the bottom of the wheel. But when the Wheel of Fortune comes up, it says the wheel's moving. So whatever has happened up to this point, you're almost kind of leaving it behind. So there is a sense of it's time to kind of jump into the flow with the moon and the Wheel of Fortune. Yes, the way will be unclear, but when the energy is kind of pushing us, this is where I think you're being guided to really call on your personal strength as Cancer, or having Cancer prominent in your birth chart, is that when the energy kind of pushes you along, you are able to navigate sometimes blindly or in the dark because of your strong connection to your intuition. Now, on the opposite side of this, we have the Magician and the Two of Swords. So what's waiting to come in for you is a reconnection to your own magic. The Magician speaks to the magic that we uniquely bring to our life experience. The Magician has on his table one of every element. Now, we all have that at our disposal. We all have our minds and our mental plane to work with. We all have our physical aspect. We all have our passions, and we all have our cup, our emotional core. But how we work with those and how we combine them together to create the life experience we want, it has to come from us. We uniquely bring the magic to all of those. Otherwise, they're just kind of inanimate objects, right? Just sitting there waiting for something to happen to them. And there's a sense here of really getting into a place where you get to unlock and get very close to that, of understanding what you uniquely bring. There's a sense of manipulation with the Magician as well. Sometimes that can be in a negative way. This is, let's say, a love reading, but this is it's almost like coming into that place of the realization of your own manifestation power, that you manipulate your experience, not maybe the other way around, which sometimes is how, when we go through a Five of Cups experience, which is possibly mourning and loss, we can feel the reverse. We can feel like the magic has been taken out of life. We can feel like circumstances beyond our control are at play. And there's a sense of really getting back into a place of power and control. But from a place, again, of realizing how you manipulate your own life experience. And with the Two of Swords, there's this final kind of push. There's a sense here for many of you where you're sitting at that place of should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And the Two of Swords, the traditional Two of Swords in the Rider-Waite Tarot shows an individual holding two swords, but they're blindfolded. So they're holding two swords of equal weight. Now, there is no way that that individual blindfolded, holding two swords of equal weight and length and all of that, can sit there and just using the power of reason justify which sword is truly the truth, or the true decision to make that is more in alignment with himself. That person actually has to go within and trust their intuition to decide. So that's the beauty of the Two of Swords, is asking you again to fall back on your own superpower. Now, at the core of this, we have the Princess of Cups, which is the Page of Cups, secondary underlying energy. This is the inner child. This is the inner innocent, vulnerable version of ourself. So there is a beautiful sense of this individual gets to take the Ace of Cups, and it is the Ace of Cups kind of in the hand of the child. Beautiful energy. There's a lot of focus here on childlike energy, of innocence, of purity. There could be a getting back to a lost sense of innocence, and that has to come from breaking down that Queen of Swords, especially for those of us who have lived a little bit more of life. I mean, granted, we can have old souls at 20 who have had very difficult experiences, and even then there can be a sense of almost like a layering and a hard exterior armor that almost needs to be removed to allow for an innocent version of ourselves to come out. But there's a sense here of almost gaining power through your own innocence, through taking off this armor that many of you have had to put on. I mean, the other element to Cancer is you are the crab, right? And you have that hardy exterior that you can kind of hide behind. And yet, I think for many of you, there's a realization that that armor is ready to come off, that you don't need to hide behind the Queen of Swords and the stories of how you were hurt, or the stories of how, something never works out, or this is always going to be in a negative way. There's a sense of getting into a place of optimism through a childlike energy. And that's what your soul is trying to highlight, that it's almost safe for you, the sun. It's safe for this little individual. I mean, look at this. I always love the image of this. There is literally a child naked on horseback riding through a field of sunflowers with the sun. There's like this sense of victory almost, the inner version of you being victoriously shown to the world. And there's a sense too of being able to just bask in the light of day, that it's safe, Cancer. Okay, so I'm going to... And it's interesting because it's almost like you're going to realize and get in touch with your magic more through this energy, through the vulnerable, showing the vulnerable side of yourself. And again, getting back to trusting your intuition and really relying on a fresh connection to your emotional self. Now, with the Queen of Swords, we have the Hermit. This is the soul-seeking energy. This is someone who maybe also has been... the Hermit goes away from the world to find inner guidance. And there's a sense for many of you that you might have had to have gone through a period of time where you felt like you had to disconnect from the world. This could be even disconnecting from social media, or disconnecting from family events, or things along that line, where you just needed to go within to find the light that you uniquely have to shine out into the world. And with the World and the King of Wands coming up here, for many of you, there might have been a time in your life where you were a business owner, because the King of Wands can be like that fiery CEO. It can be the person kind of who's always leading from what they're passionate about. And that might have been part of, the journey of the lovers, that you had to kind of just keep pursuing what you loved, keep pursuing this passionate side of yourself. But with the World coming in, it says you've learned all you can from that experience. And for some of you, this could have been meeting a Leo in your life, for sure, or harnessing the energy of Leo. But I think for many of you, this is more about, there was a cycle where you were pushed to really step into your passion, step into what you were passionate about, possibly be in the lead in some capacity, maybe be a business owner. This can even be where for some of you there was a possible, how can I put it, where maybe there was a sense of having to learn how to lead from what you're passionate about, and how to really stand true to that. And that can be a difficult lesson to learn, right? When we are, this can be where we learn that lesson of, we're just going to toe the line and do the right thing and put our heads down and, work that 9 to 5 and make money. And yet we're constantly pushed to feel like we want more, to feel like we need to express ourselves more, to feel like we need to go out into the world and experience what we're passionate about. But that cycle has come to an end, and it has put you in a place of deep introspective soul seeking. And that can be very possibly what the Queen of Swords, it's almost like the Queen of Swords maybe now is looking to change her story a little bit. So with the Moon, which is kind of, again, that intuitive call, it's a card that asks, can we walk this path on faith because the way is unclear? We have the Magician and the Two of Pentacles. So there's that energy coming in here of the Magician again. Two of Pentacles is our day-to-day tasks. This is kind of the juggling that we all do all day long. I got to do this, I got to do that. I got to do this, I got to do that. But it can be where we are also being asked to prioritize, where we are being asked to make a decision. Which pentacle is more important? We can juggle all day long, but ultimately one of these pentacles, which we can kind of look at, it's like a seed. One of them is going to take more priority over another. And so there's a sense here of saying, can you use your own magic to start to prioritize your time and energy differently? And yes, the way may be unclear. We don't always know when we start to change up our day-to-day routine, or when we start to, this can even be where we're just literally getting by every day. Sometimes the Two of Coins can kind of be like my automaton card, where it's just like the person's just waking up, going to work, coming home, making dinner, going to bed, waking up. And it's almost like you're just getting lost in the day-to-day. You're just surviving because you don't want to face something in your life, or you've just gotten to a point where there's such a deep emotional disconnect. And there's a sense here of kind of waking up out of that, of again stepping up into your own power. There's a lot of Gemini energy in this reading as well, with the Lovers and with the Magician coming out twice. Those are cards of Gemini. So there's a sense of really getting into that place of higher thought, kind of mastering what you know and being able to use that information. It's almost like learning through direct experience, but learning how to apply it differently, learning how to change up your day-to-day routine to, again, be able to provide you with the experience you really want. Now, with the Wheel of Fortune, we have death. Now, sometimes this could be that there literally, especially with the Five of Cups coming in, there could have been a death in the recent past. There might have been something, or I also like to look at the death card as almost like an ego death, a version of the self that needed to be released. And that is, I think, what's really being asked here is, can you let go of whatever is associated with the Five of Cups? Whether this is, again, releasing a version of the self that needs to be released because it wound up being disappointing in some way or was not supported, or if this is tied directly to the death of someone in your life or something, even, let's say, could have been the death of a business. There's a sense here of saying the time is now to release it, because with the Fool, this is the leap into the new. This is the 0 point. So we have the World, we have the Fool, and we have the Magician. So we go from the end of the Major Arcana to the beginning of the Major Arcana, and the Magician is the number 1. So we move, you're moving through the paces here. But first there has to be that release of what was learned about yourself or created or generated in the last cycle. So if this was you as a business owner, it's time now to finally maybe release that version of the self or that business and leap into something new. It could be the opposite, or maybe for some of you, you were really having to follow a certain path, find what you were, in love with, find what you were passionate about. But now going and soul seeking, you're discovering, okay, I learned a lot about myself. I discovered my passions. I discovered what I wanted. But now there's something that's tied to that version of self that it's time to release. And there's a new leap coming forward here into something that's going to allow you to feel much more empowered and, again, unleash a version of yourself. I think that for many of you, you have to this point, maybe even allowed to experience, or how can I say this? A version of yourself that you have yet to allow to come out. Now, the Sun, again, is coming out on the Magician. So this is what is being illuminated for you. The magic that comes from this unbridled, vulnerable, innocent part of yourself being shown. And that's where the true magic comes from, because you're basically getting in touch with that version of the self that really can't be impacted, as the Queen of Swords is, by the lessons she's learned, by the hard knocks she's had, by all of those, kind of wounds she's had to, she puts more armor on the more wounding she has. And there's that sense of realizing that maybe under all that armor, you've hidden the best part of yourself. You've hidden the magic that lies within. Because then we have the Knight of Cups and the King of Coins. And this is an interesting combination because the Knight of Cups is Piscean energy, the King of Coins is Taurus energy. So there's a sense here of really getting into almost like rose-colored glasses. It's the hopeful, optimistic, romantic that the Knight of Cups is. This is the person who takes the Ace of Cups gladly, this fresh connection, this love, and they go out there, I would say kind of naively, but naively in a way that's not negative, naively in a way that is endearing, naively in a way that others might see this person at first and kind of laugh and say, what is it? What are they doing? And there's that sense of them, people kind of, I always feel like the Knight of Cups is best summed up for anyone who watches Ted Lasso. It's like the Ted Lasso character, where they always just keep coming from the heart, and they always share from that place, and they always share from the best of intentions. And that's what wins people over, because there's that sweetness, there's that realness, and there's that lack of bite that comes from someone who's always coming from that place of maybe being a little defensive or a little jaded. Now with the King of Coins, this can be wanting to become a business owner, but from a different perspective, where the King of Wands is more flashy. This is someone who wants to be seen, someone who wants to be recognized, someone who wants to be at the top. The King of Coins is someone who's happy to be comfortable in his life experience. This is someone who knows their worth, their value, knows the value of their time and energy. This is someone who has learned how to be a master prioritizer. This is someone who has learned how to manage their finances well. This is someone who has learned to build a beautiful home life. And there's a sense with the Knight of Cups that there's a new perspective, a shift that's moving away from maybe following so much of the passionate, fiery part and moving more into this very stable, grounded version of yourself that is more home, family, finances, all of that, but doing it from a place of, it's almost like if you had a business and yet you're changing focus on your business. Or someone who went from maybe running a business or pursuing that kind of career path to, you know what, I'm going to focus on my home and family now. I'm going to focus on maybe a child in my life. This could even be where the magic is coming through you. It's coming through a child in your life that's allowing you to really focus on the home and family again. And there may be something new coming in here with the King of Coins. But there's a sense of stability and a sense of emotional optimism that's coming through. This really, I hope some of you have seen Ted Lasso, because for those of you who have, this is a reading that really kind of sums up Ted Lasso, right? The character has to, move to different countries, that leap of faith. He has to let something die. The version of himself that was very famous in the US for coaching a totally different type of game, football, where then he goes to the UK to coach soccer. Totally different game. Totally different country, totally different environment, and yet it was his willingness to do so with this sense of optimism that allowed him to actually be far more successful in the UK, to ground himself and to really allow for the version of the best version of himself to be shown. Now, there's a lot of humbling moments, but those moments are meant to really be authentic, to really show the magic that individual can bring in a different way. Now, the Two of Swords here, which is that, kind of place of indecision, you have the Ten of Cups and the Page of Coins. Ten of Cups is that beautiful, happy family card. It is truly getting to have your heart's fulfillment in your life experience, getting to touch that on the emotional plane. The Page of Coins, that's getting ready to go out there and be curious. It's getting your hands dirty. The Page of Coins is an individual who's like, okay, I'm going to take this fresh start and I'm going to just see what I can do with it. This can be like going out there and saying, I have a skill set and I'm ready to see maybe how I can take this skill set and utilize it a little differently. Or it can even be the offering. This could be for some of you, if someone here is looking to maybe perhaps if you've been thinking about proposing to someone, that could be something along those lines. The Page of Coins can be kind of like the token for what's to come. And that token with the 10 of Coins could be saying, hey, I'm giving you this ring and I'm proposing to you with the intent of that we down the line experience the 10 of Cups, but this is a small token. So it could be, for some of you, there's a sense of maybe there's an offering coming through along those lines, or you're offering that to someone in your life experience, where it's almost like with the Knight of Cups and the King of Coins, you're like, this is what you're optimistically moving towards. And in order to get there, you almost either have to just make that decision to choose it and to say, okay, the Page of Coins can actually be like putting the down payment on a house and saying, I'm putting the down payment on the house, and that house is linked directly to my vision, my future vision for our home and family. We're not quite there at our heart's fulfillment, but this is a little token of saying, I'm Knight of Cups, optimistically ready to apply something in the physical. I'm ready to take that risk. I'm ready to go out there with this. This could be sharing a business idea with other people, just saying, hey, I have this little business I've started and I'm curious, like, do you have any advice for me? Or would you like to, this is like offering your services. And yet this little thing that's starting here could be what actually is like your ultimate heart's fulfillment. So there is a little bit of this. But for many of you, there's almost like this 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Should I make the commitment? Should I not? Should I share this? Should I not? And it's saying, trust your intuition. Trust your intuition and trust what is truly illuminating the magic within, what feels empowering now. Like when we think of the Hermit coming through here, what is it that you discovered within yourself that you'd like to shine more of in the world? Now, as your third underlying energy, we have the Wheel of Fortune. So yes, the time is now to release this innocent version of yourself, to get back to this place of freeing the best version, and to really get to a place too, I think for many of you, where you're very grounded. You are pursuing this heart's desire. You're doing it from a place of optimism and truly putting on those rose-colored glasses, but you're allowing the best and brightest part of yourself to shine forward in a vulnerable way. You're peeling off those layers of armor and defense that have maybe had to have been layered on from the last cycle. Or this could literally be a child coming into your life, and you are kind of jumping into that version of your life experience now as a parent, or maybe there was a past version of yourself tied to a more, the King of Wands can be a very self-focused energy. That maybe for some of you, you were very self-focused. It was all about the you, doing what you love. And now there's a chance of saying, now there's a child in my life and my focus is now on home and family, and the time is now to release that past version of myself that was very self-focused and move into a place that is more focused on others. And in doing so, it's going to, again, illuminate a new something within yourself that is waiting to be unlocked. Okay, so I'm going to pull I'm actually going to pull 2 cards here because I actually got a new deck recently, so I've been wanting to try it out a little bit more in my reading. So we're going to pull a final card, and then I'm going to pull a final card from that new deck. So let's see here. What does Cancer need to know? It's interesting. Just as I'm pulling this card, so I'm looking at my window, and a red cardinal has just landed on the tree branch right outside my window. And cardinals are definitely, especially in Native American lore, they represent that love can be coming into your life soon, which is the Ace of Cups. It can also represent the soul of a passed on loved one coming back. So for some of you, that may be coming through in this reading. So we have Dark Night of the Soul, number 16, which breaks down to the number 7 in numerology. And that is the number of trusting in the divine and directly connecting to spirit. So let's see here. It says, you are ready for a more real and radiant relationship with the divine. Your preconceived ideas and safe, limiting beliefs may be sacrificed in order for this to happen. To the divine, these are only the clothing of your spirit. They are impediments to the absolute intimacy the divine seeks with you. You might feel vulnerable or uncertain as the divine goes about stripping away these barriers. Yes, that's exactly what's coming through. There's that stripping away to the core essence of who you are. It says, this is when you enter the dark night of the soul. You understand there is nothing to rely upon but the divine, and you will find it difficult to trust at times. This night will end, however, and the sweetness of the divine dawning in your heart shall render all worthwhile. But for now, you are meant to feel exactly as you feel. You are not doing something wrong. You are moving closer to the divine. It says, even though you are already on a spiritual path this lifetime, you can go deeper. Sometimes people know this and yet are afraid. Familiar with emotional drama, they are hesitant to let go of what they know, even if that is emotional suffering and mental anguish. That fear prevents them from being willing to trust in the loving hand reaching out to them. It might seem silly, yet letting go of fear to take hold of the hand of love can be extraordinarily difficult. If you don't trust that love will hold you, letting go can seem like allowing yourself to fall into an abyss. A feeling of madness may plague you as you wonder if you are sane to leave a known world behind you and enter into the darkness of your own doubt and fear. You sense that the old self and the familiar ways will not survive this dark night. Even if you know in your heart that this sort of spiritual death is an opening to new life, it can still be profoundly confronting. The only way to end the dark night is to go through it, to endure it and know that although you will not understand how it could be possible, it will transform itself into the sweetest grace. In time you shall be on your knees, not in despairing prayer, dearest child of love, but in gratitude, peace, and devotion. Though it begins as a challenge, the dark night of the soul will become a saving grace. Love knows you are ready. No matter what you may think at the moment of struggle, you are ready to take this spiritual test and emerge more in love with the divine than ever. Remember, this is an advanced initiation and therefore challenging at a profound spiritual level. Therefore, get some support. Even though you walk the path alone, another can help bear witness to your process and remind you that you are on a noble path of empowerment, love, and truth. Also, although you may feel your guidance has abandoned you, in truth, they are with you ever more closely, whispering words of encouragement, hope, and love. Look for the love within and let it guide you through the dark night. It will lead you faithfully and in perfect divine timing into the light of your sweetest morning. I love that. Beautiful message there. And for a final card pull, I'll be pulling from the Wild Elemental deck here. And we'll see what wants to come out. What's a final message for Cancer? And we get a final message for Cancer. We have Fox, number 39. And let's see here. So this is associated with air, and it says Fox attributes: shape-shifting, cleverness, observational skills, cunning, stealth, camouflage, feminine courage, invisibility, ability to observe unseen, persistence, gentleness, and swiftness. It says when Fox bounds into your life, she is showing you that you have the ability to solve any problem. Use all of your skills to find the answer. She can lead you to a new way of seeing the solution. That's very much the magician there. It says, have patience and do not rush the answer, but stay quiet until you are sure you can solve the problem. Gather all the information you need. You will see the issue for what it really is, to see behind the masks and illusion. All right, I will leave it there for all of you. But I can say, summing this up, there's a beautiful chance for all of you to really realize a heightened connection to the self and the magic that comes when you allow that version of yourself to be seen and you take Spirit up on the energy to do so, to leap into the new. All right, I will leave it there. I hope you all have a wonderful day ahead. If you'd like to book a personal reading to take a look at an area of your life that could use a little illumination, you can click on the link in the description box below to visit my website. Otherwise, I will see you all in your next illumination reading. Bye, Cancer.